Is it the calm before the storm? Today we'll break it down for you. Maybe there is a spring rally brewing. I do want to thank our sponsor today, and that is BTCC. This is where you guys can get a 10% bonus on your first time deposit. So here's where you can start trading where the market is setting and an opportunity to start to take a look at some of these advantages. So get some discounts on trades over there. Of course, using our link, it does help you out. 40% lower in trading fees. You guys can set up over there, set in with spot, all sorts of copy trading, etc. So get to it. It does help us. All right, let's go over to a couple of points I want to lead off with. Of course, over the weekend, Trump continues his rhetoric, pushing very hard on Truth Social, as you can see, threatening power plant day, bridge day, etc. The market was not happy with it over the weekend. We continue to see a lot of pushback, but at the same time, we've started to see a little bit of reprieve maybe coming out in the first of the week. We'll see how it plays out. I put up Trump poll, and this was really just asking how has he done so far, just performance in general. And you could kind of dissect this as to what you think is great or what you think is poor. But right now we're setting about a 50-50 split with the not good and poor slightly on the edge here right now. This is somewhat aligned with what we've seen in some of the polling on Polymarket as well, and I'll show you that in a second. I want to go to a clip real quick because this will get into Trump talking about what's happening in Iran. Take a look.
But even injured, it's amazing. It never happens when powers go down in war and you're in tough territory. Vietnam and places like Iran, they're tough, they know how to fight, they're nasty. Very rarely do you go in because you're going to send 200 people in on a mission, and that mission will likely be unsuccessful, and you're going to get one person and you're going to lose 200 people.
All right, so he kind of referenced a little bit of comparison there to the Vietnam conflict. And if you look at just some of the things that happened then, and we put in, I would say, immense resources into Vietnam, including 3 million military personnel suffering, almost 60,000 dead. You look at that, and then you also look at how it kind of compares to what's going on in Iran right now. And this is one of those countries that looks and feels like they're stacked in terms of just what's happening with the U.S. from a military power side. This is where it gets a little bit scary because this is exactly kind of what's brewing here with what's going on in Iran. If you look at the current situation right now, this came from Kobeisi, the U.S. and Iran, a group of regional mediators, are also trying to discuss this ceasefire. Iran is pushing back on this mainly in the sense of that they don't necessarily want a ceasefire. However, this is the Iranian outline of what they're looking for the ceasefire. And of course, the biggest one is the end to regional conflicts, protocol for safe passage through the Strait, lifting sanctions, and then moving into reconstruction commitments. And I think this is going to be the scenario where Trump probably gets into a no-go. But who knows? There could still be a way out for him. The real question, I think, is how does it get done? If you look at his historical narratives that have gone around some of the things that have been going on this year, over the last year, you could kind of compare this a little bit to what was happening with tariffs. And a deal has been the outcome of 100% of his conflicts in his second term. However, the original time frame of 2 to 4 clearly proven incorrect. And now they believe that it comes down to one key factor, and this war is not unilateral like what Trump's trade war and tariffs have been. So that's been the factor here. One that, of course, changes the dynamic of the trade and the tackle model that Kobeisi has kind of outlined for some time. So we'll see if this changes anything in terms of any kind of negotiation. And all of this is really affecting the market in general. And how this plays into, does the market start to correct? Because here's Bitcoin cruising at close to 70,000. Ethereum is up as well. All of this, though, can easily come back down if we continue to see more pain. All right, guys, there is some breaking news coming out of Trump's speech today, and these were some of the takeaways that really got pulled into this. One, of course, is Netanyahu, this is the Israelis, urging Trump on a Sunday call not to pursue a ceasefire with Iran per Axios. Then, of course, you have Hougan saying that this is going to continue to be one of the hardest hitting days in Iran. Be ready. Then the last point right here even goes down into where Trump says the Iranians have told the U.S. to keep bombing. So do they sense something here? This is getting to where nothing is going to win, at least in stopping this war. I think the key here in the markets is how are they going to respond, being the markets going forward. Other things you got a concern about right now, and I think the biggest is where are the risks? Well, Tom Lee goes in, breaks it down a little bit. Listen to this clip.
As bad as March was, we've probably seen a big part of that adjustment. And now I think the risk reward is quite good for stocks.
And 90 to 95% of the weakness is behind us, in your view.
Yes. And I think people are kind of torn because if someone sold in March and the market, they may have sold 3 or 4% off the highs and we're just 5% off the highs, they've got a dilemma because the market's only a little bit lower than where they might have sold, but it wouldn't take a lot for the markets to begin to recover. So I do think investors who've gone to cash really have to start to think about how war, as much as it's a crisis, people focus on the negatives initially, but then they need to start thinking about the opportunity. On the other. After energy stocks, which have done well since the war started, the second best performing asset is Ethereum. And the third best is Bitcoin. They've both been up on an absolute basis and beating the equity market.
Really what he's getting at is this is going to take a little bit of time, and that's the point. I think this week is the pause week on the markets. Do we get a little bit of a move, some retracement back? I think next week, a lot of critical things could happen. One, we could be much further into at least a ceasefire, if not a ending of the war, I hope. And also, we get back into clarity discussions, which come back after the break. If you look at Ethereum right now, which this right now is on just the 4-hour chart, this has been up considerably, which was around $2,000 happening on Sunday. It has spiked now up to what, as of today, $2,150. So that's a big factor going forward. Is that where it stops, or do we continue to see ETH kind of head up? Look at the transactions that Bitmine has done here recently. They continue to accelerate the acquisition of Ethereum. So it started in the 50s back here in February, then it rolls into the 60s, and then here you see the March purchases, even the last day of March at 71,000 in ETH. Now here we go in early April, another 71,000. So my number has been 100,000 ETH. That tells me that Bitmine and Tom Lee think that that is the bottom. And I think that will be the signifier that goes forward. So those are the things we're watching right now. The other thing that plays into this is tax day. Here is Matt Hougan talking about that. Take a look.
I said that I thought crypto would trade sort of broadly down and sideways until April 15th, after which we would start the rally that pushes us into crypto spring and to new all-time highs. April 15th is a magic day here in the US. It's tax day. It's the day where everyone who delayed filing their taxes has to send in their forms and their check to the IRS. My experience historically, I haven't looked at the data, so this is pure anecdote, just came up in our conversation, but my experience historically is that crypto is often weak heading into tax day and then starts to rally right around then. The reason is that people like Ryan, who cashed in on profits in 2025, potentially now have to pay their gains. They sell some crypto to do so. That puts pressure. But once we're on tax freedom day and we're on the other side of April 15th, I'm feeling pretty bullish.
All right, so you've got bullish statements there from Hougan, bullish statements coming in from Tom Lee. Granted, all this is still centered around Iran and what that means. But the other factors that play into this is just some of the market structure that could be lining up as well. Gareth Soloway hits on this. Timing is also brewing after tax day. Take a look at what he had to say.
The high pivot right up here from January, and we draw a descending trend line down, there's a very clear trend line that, again, will tell us a lot of information. The wedge pattern is going to come to a head on the 11th day. And ultimately, price is going to be forced to either break out or break down. And that basically puts us around April 15th, which is kind of interesting because that's right around tax day, right? If we can break to the upside and we confirm, we should be at least seeing an 18%, maybe as much as a 25% gain in Bitcoin. You can get about 15 to 16% downside on a short.
Okay, so there you have it. Short possibility, an upside here for Bitcoin. Everything is brewing into this next 10 days. This is going to get very interesting because of all the macro side of it, as well as the timing in the markets, and then also just the big announcements. You look at the amount of money that is on the sidelines right now, 8.2 trillion now sitting in money market funds. This is another, global breaking narrative that, of course, continues to push more cash into a position of setting on the sidelines. Let me know what you guys think. Are you playing it safe right now? Are you setting in gold? Are you setting in Bitcoin? Are you putting in stable coin? Where are you playing the markets right now? And are you ready for a possible move going forward? Speaking of clarity, because I think that's going to be the next big issue, there's a lot of stakeholders right now, very mum on the yield details. All of this has been brewing while Congress has been off. And one of the things they outlined here was, according to industry sources who spoke with Crypto in America, condition of anonymity because they're not authorized to comment, from both crypto and one from banking, so that must be Coinbase and probably JP Morgan. Stakeholders reviewed the latest compromise language Thursday. Neither would discuss details, but said they were hopeful working a solution had been reached at this time. So maybe there is some news coming into this. And of course, if you look at the clarity possibility of going through right here on Polymarket, it has been somewhat sideways, but it is still hovering around 60%. So keep an eye on that. Last up, of course, is where Congress is. This is timing. So let's go in here to April. These yellow parts are when Congress is back in session. And you can kind of see next week we were back in there. So the possibility is good in April, May, and really June. July is kind of the last possibility, but it's really thin by that time before we see a dark August. And then, of course, we get into midterms as you see September, October, and November. At that point, if we do not have a clarity issue, as many people have said, including even John Deaton last week said that it doesn't happen. So be on the lookout for all that. This gets into a lot of other scenarios that could play into this. Once yield gets clarified here, this, of course, will move into the next phase of trying to get this through Congress. And one of the things that has been outlined many times, we've talked about it with Warren Davidson here on the channel and others, and that is Trump's business deals. And there you can kind of see World Liberty, Five Melania, etc. All these kind of situations start to play into a very negative position of the Trump family. So this could get into a situation where Trump actually kills this deal instead of Congress. So I'm concerned about that. Timing-wise, all of this is happening right around the time that he is doing this Mar-a-Lago event, which of course gets into a whole slew of people that are going to be there, including Kathy Wood. But the point that it gets into is this right here. We are dealing with timing that starts to put this around April the 10th. So now you have this happening, clarity happening, possibly the end of the war. All of this could get into the right space at the right time, but just so many things have to be aligned. Last point I want to make here is this right here. Midterms continue to be pressured, and now Democrats are taking a commanding lead at 53% to take the Senate and have already, at this point, taken the House. So this would really strap down the administration on getting anything done for crypto, guys. So this is a big deal. As we continue to watch it, we will cover more coming out of DC this week. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, drop a comment down below, and also join our free private member group. The link is in the description.